Hey, what is going on, everyone? I hope you are having a wonderful day wherever you are. Today, I have another video about some really common mistakes that I hear English students make. A lot of you guys really liked the first video that I made about this topic, and so I thought I would make another one. Today, we are going to talk about 5 things you should not say if you want to sound like a natural native English speaker. I'm going to explain why they're wrong and what you should say instead. If you follow these 5 tips, your English will sound more natural and you will sound like a more confident English speaker. Let's get started. The first thing that you should avoid saying if you want your English to sound natural is "do you know" and then a place or thing or experience. Let me explain. For native speakers, we would say "do you know" and then a person. This is a phrase that you would really only use when you're asking about people. For example, I hung out with my friend Mike all weekend. Do you know him? This is correct and this is natural. The problem that I hear a lot of students make is they will use this phrase with a place or with a thing. For example, I got coffee from Starbucks this morning. Do you know Starbucks? This would be incorrect. If you say this, it sounds very awkward and unnatural. Here's what you should say instead. You should use "have you," and then what you say next kind of depends on the situation. It depends on what you're talking about. For places, you can use "been to." For example, have you been to the new shopping mall? This sounds so much more natural than "do you know the new shopping mall?" For activities, for things that you do, you could use "tried." Have you ever tried surfing? And for movies or TV, you can use "seen." Have you seen the new Joker movie? There are a lot more examples of this, but the point is you should use "have you" and then a verb which will be different depending on the exact situation that you are talking about. Next, this is a big one, guys. Let's talk about the word "dear." I don't know where people are learning this word, but I see in tons and tons of YouTube comments people using "dear," and it's pretty awkward, and here's why. Usually, you only use "dear" for someone that you have a very close connection with, and usually you are a lot older than that person. For example, your grandma, when she sees you for the first time in a long time, she might say, "Oh, I missed you, dear." That is natural. Or at the beginning of a formal email, usually a business email, "Dear Mr. Sunby," that is also natural. But it is strange to use "dear" with someone that you don't know and you aren't familiar with. Usually you only use this for a person that you are close to. And like I said earlier, it's usually for older people when they talk to younger people. So if it's someone around your age, it's a little bit weird to use "dear." And this is very important. If you are a man, don't ever call another man "dear." That is weird. To fix this, you can just take those words out of the sentence. You don't really need the word "dear." So maybe a YouTube comment might say, "Thank you for the lesson, dear. I loved it." That's a little bit strange, and it's much more natural to say, "Thank you for the lesson. I loved it." The next one is pretty similar. Sir, ma'am, and madam. These are usually much too formal for YouTube comments or just texting and messaging in general. Sir and ma'am are usually used in formal, professional, business situations, and you usually say them to people who are older than you. It's kind of a sign of respect for an elder. For example, a cashier at a grocery store might say to an old man, "Have a great day, sir." That is natural because the cashier is working, so he's kind of in a formal situation and he's talking to someone much older than him. And if you don't know, sir is only for men and ma'am is for women. Madam is also for women, but it is very old and pretty outdated, so it's better just to use ma'am. And like I said, only use these in formal situations. Sometimes you might hear native English speakers using these words casually or jokingly in other situations. Here, they're probably not being serious. When you are using these words and being serious, you should only use them in the situations I talked about earlier. Okay, next is toilet. I heard this a lot when I actually lived in South Korea, and Koreans who are not native English speakers, they would often say, "I have to go to the toilet." So in American English, a toilet is only this thing. If you're talking about the entire room, you should say bathroom or restroom. It's much more natural and a little bit more polite to say, "I have to go to the bathroom" or the restroom. Okay, so my final tip is a little bit complicated, but I think you guys can understand. It's about the word much. So English books, they usually teach that many and lots of are used for countable nouns, and much and a lot of are for uncountable nouns. So this is correct, but usually the word much only sounds natural if it is paired with another word. Words like so, to, very, more or less, or an ER adjective. A sentence like this, "It costs much money." You might hear this in an English textbook, and technically it is a correct sentence, but it's very awkward sounding. A native speaker would never say this. If you add a word like so or to, that makes it sound much more natural. So here are some more examples. The test was much harder than I expected. Here we have the additional ER adjective. Thank you so much. Also natural because we've added the word so. I don't have much work left. Here you have not and much. These are all okay. A native speaker would say these and it would sound correct. But I drank much soda today. This sounds really awkward. To fix this, you should either add one of the words I mentioned earlier or just use a lot of. I drank a lot of soda today. That sounds much better. Okay, thank you so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more videos like it, you should check out this playlist. If you have any questions, you can always leave them in the comments. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.